All right, welcome to the circuit. My name's Alec Kinsky, host of the show, joined by Alex Karamenos, and today by Miles Masercola from the HoopState, who was in attendance at our event this weekend, was on the call for all of our Court 1 games, and provided a kind of a crucial experience to our event. Miles, thanks for joining us, and excited to break down the event with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was great to see the basketball culture in Texas, and just a great event.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on it? What were your thoughts on the way the community came out?
It was great. We had kind of got a little bit of it in Houston, and everyone in Houston was telling me like, "Hey, this is great." Dallas is a little different. Dallas is kind of the basketball hub of Dallas, and we claim that North Carolina as the hoop state, and so it was kind of great to see a different chapter of this nation's great basketball culture, and Dallas showed out. It was great.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, guys, thanks for joining. We're gonna jump right into this. The first time in our awards, and really, when I did the awards for D1 Circuit, we never used to do this, but we couldn't decide for MVP. So we gave it to two guys. Team Trae Young went 4-0. Noah Shelby and Rylan Griffin, both 2022 prospects, definitely kind of stood out for that team. Really put up, close to identical numbers. Rylan put up 20 points a game, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. Noah put up 18, 3, 3, and 2. And they both kind of did their, or were able to contribute the best of their games. So yeah, I want to jump right into Rylan and Noah. Alex, what did you see from Rylan?
Yeah, this being Rylan's second event running with Team Trae Young, he really showed out this event. What I like most about him is his ability to get to his spots and get right into his shot. He's great at using the pull-up. He was very, very aggressive attacking the rim, had some big-time dunks. Was good on the glass, was good at getting his guys involved. I really think he's finding himself within this Team Trae Young team, and they're a really good team, and just adding him just boosts their stock.
Yeah, for sure. And they had just dropped out of the top 25, went 4-0 this weekend, beat 3 ranked teams. Rylan's, I believe it was his second tournament with him, so had some time to, work through some kinks, but him and, Jacoby Walter and Alex Anamekwe and really a whole unit kind of came together. Miles, you're, kind of new to some of the Texas prospects as well, but I know you knew Noah going in. What'd you see from him live?
Yeah, so every time I hear the name Noah Shelby, you just hear shooter, 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 and it makes sense because
right, because catches the ball on the court.
Yeah, it's like he's a threat. As soon as he pulls up in the parking lot with his slides on, he's ready to make a shot. So he looked really, really good, and I think the thing was he combined efficient outside shooting with getting to the paint, getting paint touches, making sure that other guys were getting involved. Being a playmaker as well. But he was out there looking to create offense, whether it was for himself or somebody else, and you saw him take floaters from deeper than most people would take floaters for, and he capitalized on them. He was pretty efficient with them. And I think, hearing that he's going to Vanderbilt to play for Jerry Stackhouse, he's going to help him understand everything about, becoming, hopefully a guy that can make money playing this game, which he's on the track to being that. So I think, him as he continues to get stronger, and that's going to help him defensively, he's going to be a two-way menace. And that range that he has opens everything up for everybody else on his team, because you have to account for him when he crosses half court, and that completely changes the way teams defend you. And it was a huge reason why his team was so successful this weekend.
Yeah, and I mean, looking forward to the immediate future for Team Young, you got to be excited because they beat the Middlesex Magic, about the most disciplined team you're going to find, ranked team. They beat them playing kind of their game.
Mm-hmm.
Team Thad, lock you down defensively, super high energy. They were able to withstand that. And then Vegas Elite wanted to get up and down. You got to, take on the star power of Dior, and they won that game as well. And they won a pretty crazy game against Mevo at the buzzer, with Anamekwe with the buzzer beating finish there. So yeah, great weekend for Team Trae Young, especially his top 2 guards. One of the guards they squared off against was AJ Storr. He takes home our offensive player of the session. AJ, was 1B to Dior Johnson's 1A, if not vice versa. He was really, really aggressive. Alex, what did you see from AJ? I know it was your first time seeing him live.
Yeah, with my first time seeing him live, he really, really impressed me. Finished the weekend averaging 21.3 points and 4 rebounds. His catch and shoot was on the whole weekend. He was really setting his feet and getting shot off quick when taller defenders were closing out on him, and he used the pump fake very well too. He would use his pump fake, and he would either take that short corner jump shot or get straight to the rim. Crafty finisher around the rim as well. Real stocky, tall guard, so it's kind of hard for defenders to match up with him sometimes. He likes to get out and run in transition, plays above the rim, and yeah, he's a high energy player. He doesn't say too much on the court, but he lets his game speak for himself, and he definitely did that this weekend.
Yeah, he's a menace in transition. Miles, I know you kind of saw the same thing, especially on the call for most of Vegas Elite's game. He was, in transition quite a bit.
Yeah.
Another guy that we all were definitely happy was in attendance with high major AZ was Chance Westry, and he kind of showed out across the board, but especially defensively. He averaged I think 3.5 steals per game, was on the opposing team's best defender the entire time, and he turned defense into offense probably better than any player in the tournament. Highly ranked player, had a really, really, really strong showing for himself, and kind of proved every bit worthy of his ranking. Moving on, we have our breakout player of the session. This one was a little bit anticipated, but we wanted to see him on the big stage, and I know this was your first introduction to him, Miles, and there's a lot of good big guys in North Carolina. So to see one from the Northeast, what were your thoughts on Dom Campbell?
He was really good. My guy Anthony Simmons, one of our other HoopState guys, he would say a wide body alert because he's a big, strong kid. He knows how to use his size to his advantage and kind of create separation down low. But I think a lot of times when you see those big bruisers, you think, okay, they might have touch around the basket, but Dom's a confident shooter from the outside, and I think that is kind of why you see Notre Dame and South Carolina stepping in and throwing an offer his way. And the other thing is he doesn't force the issue at all. He's making good decisions. They're running a lot of stuff through him in that mid-high post area. He likes to catch it at the top of the key a lot. And kind of just him as a 3-level scorer. Like he's a 3-level scoring post player, like kind of naturally post player, but he can fit in no matter who the personnel is around him and make plays. And he's a good defensive rebounder too. So that's kind of where he makes his impact on that end of the floor.
Yeah, him against Zuby Ejiofor was definitely an intriguing matchup, and he showed really well for himself. Both guys fouled out in that game. Super physical matchup, but definitely showed well for himself. Had a big game there. Moving on to best underclassmen. One of my favorite players in the event, Kerr Tang, 2024 product, playing up for the Mass Rivals. They went 4-0. Kerr kind of checks all the boxes. Super high energy. Got up and down the floor really well, and was tasked on guarding some bigger players during the weekend, and helped George Turkson take down the front court of Southeast Elite, and that can't be overlooked, especially for a kid with his projected skill set. Kerr was a lot of fun to watch for the Mass Rivals, and it resulted in wins. Best performance, we decided to go with Kamani Hamilton. Kamani stepped up big time, had 22 points and 11 rebounds against Vegas Elite, really the most primetime matchup we had. And his performance is definitely kind of the I feel like the difference maker in that in the results of that game. Made 4 threes, and it was kind of his coming out party for a 6-8 win. What'd you guys think of Kamani, and were you familiar with him coming in?
So go ahead, Alex.
Sorry about that, Miles. I've heard of him a little bit. I really like the way he shot the ball. He was on the outside, and he's just so long. Like, he 2 steps from the 3-point line, he's at the rim. He's just so long. He's a good defender as well. Averaged a bunch of rebounds, and both on the offensive defense. And he has a great motor too. I felt like his motor didn't stop throughout every game that I watched him play. He's just bringing energy and doing what he does best.
Yeah, I thought he was really integral to kind of what Team Thad does, especially defensively. Like, they don't really have a true 5. They kind of just switch as much as they can and and make life hell for the opposition. So he was able to do that on the defensive end, and then offensively, when he's knocking down the jump shot, and you have to close out on him, it completely changes things. So I thought he was really good in that, and especially in that Vegas Elite game, like you said, that was a really, really highly anticipated game. Probably at least, the Southern Assault game was definitely the closest game and the most intense game, but there was a crowd of people on the baseline. Like, it was really, really intense, and he lived up to the big moment, and there's something to be said for that.
Well, and that leads right into, the next award, which was best game, Vegas Elite Southern Assault. That one kind of speaks for itself. Dior and Keontae came down to the wire. Miles, I know you were on the call. That one, that was a lot of fun.
It was, yeah, that was one of those games that'll probably, like, for the year of 2021, especially grassroots, that's like a Mount Rushmore game. You're not going to get a ton better than that. It's probably the first or second best game I've seen all summer, period. And in the half dozen events I've been to so far, it was really, really intense. The stars showed out, and the one guy, obviously Keontae George, was brilliant. I like, is there a more underrated player in America than Johan Trier right now?
Probably.
He is unbelievable.
Frightening to step out and hit threes if you're the opposition.
Yeah, like, you have a 7-footer that's running the floor, can put it on the floor, hits threes. Like, reminds me a lot. It's, you can kind of get lost in translation comparing footers, but it almost feels like Jonas Adu all over again from North Carolina, where Jonas was like, not ranked, kind of viewed as, this kid might be a pretty good, mid-major player, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's a top 30 player in America. And that it could be a similar story for Big Johan.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Best dunk will probably be playing right now, which was Rylan Griffin. One of the best dunks I've seen live. It certainly took me out of my seat. Well, moving right along, we're going to go right into first team. A lot of these guys we're going to have talked about, and so we'll skip on over them. I'm going to start with Von Ellen Lubin from Southeast Elite. Averaged 24 and 11, I believe. Was everywhere for Southeast Elite. They had a new ranking in the top 25 heading into it. They went 3-1. And his skill set kind of across the board, his aggressiveness, and then one look at him and he has the makeup of he's got the makings of a pro's body. So I was very pleasantly surprised by seeing him live. Whenever it results in wins, that's obviously ideal. Also on first team, we spoke about Noah Shelby, Rylan Griffin, Kurt Tang from the Mass Rivals, Chance Westry, and then next up is Kyron Lindsay of Max Levels Elite. He's gotten better every time I've seen him this year. He's become more aggressive. He's got a nice jump shot. He works well in an offense. He can defend three positions. He's and the numbers back it up. I think he averaged 20 and 14. He's asked to do a lot for that team, and they're playing stiff competition. And again, 3-1 record, only lost to Drive Nation. Really good showing by Kyron. And then we got Dior Johnson of Vegas Elite. Now Dior's, obviously his reputation precedes himself as a basketball player. Alex, Dior pretty well, both on and off the court. Know you're from the same hometown. Talk about his, his play this weekend and if it, where it met your expectations.
Well, since watching Dior live for the first time in a couple years, I'll say that his game has matured so much. What really caught my eye this weekend is how vocal he is on the court. He's really pointing guys in directions, running the offense for that Vegas Elite team. Another thing that caught my eye is the intensity that he brings to the table. I don't think it matters who he's going up to, if he's playing in a high-level event like this or if he's playing in the park. I think he's going to bring it wherever he goes, and it definitely showed. He's such a playmaker. His IQ is really high. A couple times he drew some fouls on some threes, and he did that all weekend. He's like really good at getting in defenders' heads and just playing his game, and he's a great player and much upside for him.
Yeah, I mean, it was this competitive level, for me, competitiveness level. It was off the charts. He was, good and, I guess, good and bad, right? He used it to psych himself up, but when his teammates missed, he would, tell them to keep their chin up. You're going to make the next one. And it was constant. And, a lot of people that can be forced, right? And it can feel forced, but it didn't at all. Like he, I feel like it kind of fuels his game a little bit.
I was going to say, if there's a body language award, he wins it. Cause like the kid, I think there's misconceptions about him. And it's probably just the fact that he's probably grown up too. Like the kid's a great teammate. You could just see how good of a teammate he is. He's a kid that you'd want to play with and from an intangible standpoint and from just a pure basketball standpoint.
Yeah, he wants to win for sure. We saw him post game of one of the close games they lost, and kind of you talk him down a little bit because he's he's super competitive and he wants to win every game, and he clearly gets better when he has some help around him along AJ and Pop Isaacs. He's he's clearly able to play his best game, and he makes a lot of shots. He makes pro shots too. Which is impressive. Dom Campbell was previously listed as breakout. Then we get into Jordan Walsh. I know he's one of the first times you've seen him live, Miles. Jordan's he's grown a ton, both physically and in his game since I've saw him play a couple years ago. What are your thoughts on takeaways from Jordan for the weekend?
He's got like so much pop to his game. Like he's kind of a kid. There are a few other kids like this in attendance where he's just his eyeballs are going to be at the rim in a matter of seconds. And, he's got a great spin move. He's really good operating in from the high post. And I thought that for that, Drive Nation team, he was really the straw that stirred the drink because he embraces kind of being a go-to guy for them. And I think when you have a best player that is comfortable in that mold, it's going to lead to success. And, his ability speaks for itself. Like I said, like the bounce off 2 feet is ridiculous. And he's someone that, there were oohs and ahs throughout the entire weekend. No matter what court that was going on, eyes seemed to find their way over to what Jordan Walsh and Drive Nation were doing just because of the excitement that he plays with.
Yeah, he dunked so hard he knocked a kid's tooth out at our first second. Tooth was stuck in the kid's arm. It was pretty wild. So.
Oh, geez.
Missed a bit of time there actually. So impacted his weekend. Speaking of guys that are kind of taking on I guess more of Jordan's the guy, I feel like, for Drive Nation. One of the guys for Team Thad rounds out our first team, which is Chandler Jackson. He kind of separated himself, we feel like, for Team Thad this weekend. Strong, bullish type guard. It kind of got to where he wanted. Alex, I know he was one of your favorite guys of the weekend.
Yeah, he went for 25 points, 2 assists, 3 steals against Vegas Elite, and he didn't back down from anybody. Real stocky guard, and he plays downhill. And if you're in his way, he's going to bump you out of the way, and he's getting to the rim or he's getting to the line. Besides him playing downhill, I think he's a great facilitator for his team. And like we've been talking about leadership this whole time, he's a great leader too.
You can tell like he was like he's taking coaching, and you could tell.
Yeah, I was sitting next to Thad Young during the game, and Thad Young was calling him over a couple times, and his eyes were peeled right to him, and I'm sure he heard every word that he says coming from a NBA pro. And yeah, he was just really fun to watch, especially in that game against Vegas Elite Saturday night. And he definitely showed up, and he helped get his team the win.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to be big for them in July, and next to Amar Knox, they got a lot of good things going on for Team Thad right now. Moving on to the second team, we almost made this a triple MVP. Jacoby Walter looked great. Miles, I know you first of all, were a little taken aback when you found out he was a 2023. And he certainly has an advanced offensive game. Got to show a bunch of that. What do you think of Jacoby?
Yeah, like you said, advanced. Like he was getting advanced buckets all weekend. Like jump shots off the dribble, contested shots, stuff in the mid-range area that most sophomores, most high school kids, period, don't, have in their bag of tricks. And I think he's a perfect complement to kind of the other pieces around him with Griffin being the hyper athletic guard and Noah being the guy with the volleyball line range. He's almost like a perfect contrast to the two with kind of the shot making and the pop. So he was really, really impressive this weekend. And, it was hard to kind of, I'm sure, as I helped a little bit, but you were really the one putting these teams together. It was kind of hard to narrow down the guys for Team Trae Young. And, he felt like a guy that definitely deserves some individual recognition after such a big weekend for that team.
Yeah. And I would say the only The only feedback you have for Jacoby, I think when you're watching him, is he can pull off his offensive move whenever he wants. I don't want that to be all he does, right?
Mhm.
Like plays, if he plays within that offense, and he can do all of that because he's so far advanced in his skill set that's where his offensive game is. But just a weapon in transition and defensively, he can guard 1 through
Yeah. He was definitely a big time. Oh, there's 8 seconds left on the shot clock. We need a bucket. Let's give
right.
it to him.
And he can do that whenever he wants, and being able to operate in the flow, I think, is clearly, as they took a whole step forward, as a big step forward as a team.
Mhm.
Next two guys on second team, Avery Jackson of Texas Dynasty was on fire all weekend. They played 2 Friday, 2 Saturday, and he really didn't take his foot off the gas. Scored over 23 times. I think he averaged 24 points a game. Head coach Zach Rodriguez loves him. His backcourt partner Nick Jett also played extremely well. One of the best independent teams in Texas, kind of bar none. Moving right along, one of the best independent teams in West Texas is Team GPS. They went 3-1. Rising senior named Tate Truby, 2022 prospect, hit 8 threes in a game, hit 22 threes for the weekend. Arguably, the top shooting, not arguably, the top shooting performance of the of the weekend. Hit over 50% of his threes. Also on second team was AJ Storr. We spoke about it a little bit about him before. Isaac Mcdoullett for Oklahoma Wolfpack had a really, really strong weekend. They also showed well for themselves against an EYBL team and Team Thad. And he averaged 21 and 8. It's kind of everywhere. 6'6" wing. Oklahoma Wolfpack's first time at a circuit league event, and they certainly showed well for themselves. And then last on second team is Matt Curtis. I saw him earlier this season. Saw at Rutgers that offered him right beforehand, and I saw why. After I saw him, Miles, I know you saw him for the first time here. What'd you think? The 6'3" junior.
Yeah, he's a kid that he's very, very comfortable in his game and knows what he does well and knows his role on this team. And that when you're comfortable and confident, it leads to production. So what he was able to do this weekend for them was a little bit of everything. You saw him initiate offense. You saw him hit shots. You saw him get to the basket. You saw him make plays defensively. Very good at being a fundamental guy, playing off of 2 feet in the lane, never really forcing himself into bad situations. And I think when you're playing with a very high profile big man, you kind of have to play off of him just because you want things to go through Donovan Clingan, as this team does, and he does a really, really good job of playing off of him and not always being the feature guy on offense, but finding a way to kind of pick his spots and be productive and efficient.
Yeah, and he competes at a really, really, really high level. Which was, moving on to third team now, was impressive about Braden Hubbard. H&H Elite didn't have as much success as they wanted on the weekend, but they, Hubbard certainly showed well for himself, averaged 19 and 10, did a little bit of everything for H&H Elite. I know he had some low and mid majors looking at him, and I think he kind of put it together on the big stage, which is what CJ Luster, next up on third team, has kind of done all spring. Miles, I know you had seen him a little bit earlier this spring, and it's the consistency now that's impressive about Luster. What do you think about the junior?
He's good. He's really good, and I think he's really buying into kind of what he is for this program. Max Levels Elite's a first-year program, really trying to figure it out, and he's kind of their centerpiece for that 17U team, and he knows that he's the guy that everybody looks to. He's can play both guard spots, but from a mindset standpoint, he's a point guard. He's directing guys. He's vocal. He's a very, very sound kid, very comfortable kid, like I said kind of earlier with Matt Curtis. And I think the other thing is defensively, he does such an incredible job making life difficult for the opposing, the best opposing perimeter player. So when you have a stopper like that, someone that can do so many things for you offensively, can play off the ball and spot up and hit outside shots, can cut, can do anything you really need a 6'2", 6'3" combo to do. He's willing to do it. No ego guy, just gets the job done. And he's a great foundational player for Max Levels Elite as they can continue to establish themselves as one of the premier programs in the state of Texas.
Yeah, and I feel like he's only going to get better as he's around better talent.
Yeah.
He kind of fits right in. The only question was about his toughness, and I've beginning of the season being able to be physical enough, and he plays with a lot of energy.
Yeah, I'm surprised to hear that because I don't hear all the talk in Texas and stuff like that. I'm surprised to hear that based on what I've seen from him. He's definitely a tough kid.
Well, it came from the coaching staff. They're like, if we have a knock, we just got to make sure he can withstand the way he attacks, right? And because he plays really, really hard, which that's definitely not a knock. Speaking of playing hard, Darian Ford for next page is one of the hardest playing prospects in the 2022 class that I've seen. His motor was going. Lefty was playing his first session was next page. I know you're familiar with him before the session, Alex. What'd you take away from seeing him live?
Yeah, like you said, his motor does not stop. He plays super hard and super fast. One of the fastest guys that I saw with the ball in his hands out of anybody this weekend. I had a huge game against Team Spartans where he went for 26 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals. That motor isn't only on offense for him. He's great defensively as well. He picks up probably the best ball handler on opposing teams and makes them very uncomfortable. He's right on their hip, and he's talking. He's switching. He can guard ones and twos, so he's switching everything. Much improved in his jump shot since the last time that I've watched him, and it looks a lot more confident.
A lot of shots this weekend.
Yeah, and it looks a lot more confident as well. And he was really good in pick and roll play as well. He made good decisions off it, a lot of dump downs, but when he knew that, all right, I got to score the ball, they were giving it to him and he was getting it done.
Yeah, I was impressed. The next guy on the list, the facilitator for Middlesex Magic, Will Batchelder. Miles, I know you had a little bit of trouble with his name on the call, but we're going to get it right now because I think colleges are going to want, especially in the Northeast.
Batchelder. My apologies on that, Will. If you heard it wrong on the call, it was written down as Bachelor, and I was like, oh. Then I saw the correction. I'm like, dang, this kid's really good. Hopefully he's not mad because I know all about getting angry DMs from travel ball moms about mispronouncing their baby's name. So I just wanted to make sure I got it right.
Yeah, and I think he's a kind of a well-known commodity in the Northeast, but being able to kind of display his game against ranked competition nationally.
Yeah, he's tough. Like he's just a kid, hard-nosed kid. Like doesn't care. Like gonna battle. And I think the other thing is like, in order for this Middlesex Magic team to be as successful as they are, they need complete buy-in from everybody on that roster. And I don't think you see a better example of that than with Will and his ability to both make shots off the catch and dribble, getting to his spots confidently, and then being the guy that sets up the offense to, gets a lot of hockey assists, makes those right reads in the pick and roll and stuff like that. He and Dom Campbell do an incredible job playing off of one another, and their chemistry is very, very obvious. So he's a kid that, I'm not sure exactly what his recruitment level is, but he's a no-brainer Division I talent and a kid that a lot of programs, they're going to be like, dang, that Batchelder kid's really good. Why didn't we have a chance in him? And well, you probably just didn't notice him. And he's a kid that is really, really talented and is going to help his team win a lot of games at the next level, regardless of where it is.
Yeah, he got a bunch of guys that just fit well in the system. Josh Morissette looked good. Brady Cummins looked good.
Yep.
They head coach Mike Crotty has a stable there. Rounding out the list, 2 guys left on third team. Josh Stewart for the AAO Flight UA Rise program showed really well for themselves, went 3-0. Josh hit a lot of shots. Program speaks super highly of him. And he was consistent all weekend and kind of their go-to guy, and it resulted in wins, which is what we like. And then BB Knight, this is kind of down to could have 1A 1B between BB Knight and Amari Abram. BB, you said it before we got on the show, Miles, felt like whenever he shot it was going in. He got a nice looking jump shot. What'd you see from his game, Alex?
Yeah, he averaged 13 points per game. His big game coming with 21 points against Drive Nation. Like Miles said before we got on the call, and you just said, and it's true, when he put a shot up, you thought it was going in. That's how hot he was this weekend. Sneaky athletic too. He catches a lot of lobs that I think opponents might not think he's able to do if they're not familiar with him, but he's very sneaky athletic. He can get into the lane, crafty finisher, and can finish with either hand. Great at using spin off the glass, doing reverse layups, part of his craftiness. And on defense, he can guard 1 through 3. So that team, they're switching everything and they're making it hard for people to score on them. And he loves to push the break too. Like I was just talking about catching lobs. He's filling lanes well, and he's going up and getting that thing and throwing it down.
Yeah, he had a putback this weekend that I didn't know that type of athleticism. All right, last topic. We'll just touch on some of the underclassmen we saw in 16s. The number 1 team in the country was there. E1T1, they certainly lived up to the hype. They went 4-0. Marvell Allen looked terrific. Jason Jackson looked really good. Tristan Gross looked good. Jaden Hastings looked good. And they didn't have their floor general, Jizzle James, for their first 2 games. Got him for their second 2 games, and they looked even better. Marvell and Jason are surefire high major recruits. A lot of the roster is, and they're going to be an obvious contender for Peach Jam. Another West Coast team that, Miles, this is your first time seeing them live. Osiris Grady and DJ Pfizer, the Las Vegas Punishers. They, came in with a little bit of hype behind them. And, I saw them a little bit, was super impressed. What'd you think, especially the game that you had to call for?
Yeah, they actually, that was the opening game of the event. It was a great 16 matchup between them and D1 Minnesota. We'll talk about one of the kids from D1 Minnesota later. But no, Osiris was a really nice skilled forward prospect, blended that skill and athleticism that you like to see. And as his body fills out, still only a 2023, still has 2 years of high school left. He's going to be a force and a kid that should see his recruitment spike in a considerable way, because when you combine athleticism with 6'8" shot making and a guy that doesn't really force it, kind of, picks his spots and is efficient, that's always great. And then DJ Pfizer, just a sniper from beyond the arc, made shots. Another guy that can kind of fit with any other group of personnel, doesn't have the skill set that takes away from other people, but really just highlights them and makes people look good. Gets guys assists with his shot making and can be a back cutter, can be someone that defends 2 to 3 positions at the grassroots level. So those 2 represent a really, really nice core for that Las Vegas Punisher 16U group.
Yeah, I wanted Pfizer to be even more aggressive. Felt like whenever he wanted to go to work, he would. I liked Ian Jackson a lot, really highly ranked recruit from 2024 for the Lightning. He's a USA basketball invite. Was competitive, on both sides of the ball, really good with the ball in his hands. And Lightning are extremely excited about him. Javen Koffer also looked good for max levels. Miles, I know you mentioned the D1 Minnesota big man. I know Bowden Koepka certainly sparked your interest.
Yeah, anytime you get like a traditional back to the basket big guy with the vision to really make good decisions off of double teams, it's going to intrigue me. And when he had the one-on-one matchup, he capitalized on it, got the finishes. He rebounded well off both backboards and actually did a pretty decent job sliding his feet and backside pick and roll defense too. So, that's obviously the thing. A lot of times when you see traditional back to the basket bigs, other teams will try to take them out with pick and roll defense. At least in the first game of the weekend, he did a pretty good job kind of holding his own in that department. So you get the production on the offensive end, you get the good decision making, and you don't give up too much defensively in pick and roll defense. So he was really, really good and a walking 20 and 10 guy. Yeah, absolutely. He looked really good. Number of big men did. Cam Barnes also on our list. Not a big man, but Moses Horn certainly stood out for Buddy Buckets in the 16U division. A couple of 15U names. Chris McDermott for Team Fox looked great. They've been really consistent throughout the season. He had, I feel like, his best event of the year. Amir Chaney for Uncut Elite had some impressive performances, and then Rylan Griffin's brother, Rustin Griffin, stood out for that Drive Nation team that features USA Basketball invitee Liam McNeely, who's actually at USA Basketball as we speak. So, a full list of the underclassmen that kind of stood out will be on the website. But Miles, thanks for joining us. Alex, thanks for being here.
we'll see you next time. And I'm sure it'll be, sometime in July will be, or I guess, no, it'll be Juneteenth.
Yeah.
Which is the 18th through 20th, the Juneteenth Invitational in Dallas. Looking at another kind of stacked field. And yeah, we'll definitely catch back up then and probably do a pre-show as well.
Yeah, no, definitely looking forward to that. We'll have to talk about everything with that event. Can't wait to be streaming that on the HoopState Network, and excited to see the full list of teams once it's finally unveiled.
Yes, should be fun. Well, appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.